You might think that this is an almost too scientific age, that there is absolutely no part of the Earth that we don't know about. You'd be wrong. While space remains quite unexplored, the ocean is another mystery. And the deepest part of the ocean? It's insane. The deepest part of the ocean is less visited than space. I know what you're thinking. Why not? Just dive right in and get discovering. Well, you'll find out exactly why this is impossible in the latest episode of Big Factz, Mariana Trench, Deepest Parts of the Ocean. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notifications button below for more videos like this. First of all, it is so deep, 8,000 meters deep. The Mariana Trench is actually part of the trenches inside the ocean called the Hydrothermal Zone, which is made of 33 very large holes. Mariana Trench is the largest of them all. If you consider the Hydrothermal Zone, you will be surprised to know that its general size comes to about 0.2% of the ocean width. But it accounts for 45% of the depth. It might be a bit hard to comprehend through numbers, but imagine this. You could fit an entire mountain, the highest mountain, Everest, inside the Mariana Trench, and still have space left over, not just space for a person to fit in. A mile or so will be left over. Can you really blame divers for not wanting to jump in and explore this very deep and very dark area? But then how do we get to know how deep it is? Exploding stuff. Humans like throwing TNT explosives in the trench, and the echoes produced are recorded to calculate the height. But we can't know what kinds of creatures live down there with just explosions, and at that point, we had no idea what lived in the Mariana Trench. An expedition was undertaken finally in these depths. The HMS Challenger project was created. From 1873 to 1876, a whole 3 years, some brave souls managed to bring up samples from around 8 kilometers. And they still might not have been successful because the fish was dead. It could have been a fish that had swam down and died. As you'll find out, it is very easy to die in the Mariana Trench. Effortless, even. Finally, in 1901, the Princess Alice expedition found alive and well creatures from below 6 kilometers of water. The first picture ever taken was done by the famous Jacques Cousteau. Cousteau was actually the only one to ever take a picture of these depths of the ocean for a long time. You might be wondering, why do we want to know what lives down there so bad? What if it's scary? It is kind of. Not. But surprisingly, that makes this discovery more interesting. Let us explain. The Mariana Trench is not entirely unexplored, of course. Some creatures have been captured from the shallower depths and given weird scientific names like Pyrococcus CH1. There are very small worm-like creatures and are what you call extremophiles. Finally, a scientific word that makes sense. Basically, they are in the same category as quote-unquote aliens. Yes, aliens. Here is the connection. Life outside Earth survives under extreme temperatures and pressures, and life inside the Mariana Trench survives under extreme temperatures and pressures. So aliens and their adaptations can be kind of predicted by studying extremophiles from the Hydrothermal Zone. Let's start with the temperature. It is very cold in the Mariana Trench, as one would expect, but not freezing. It's around 1 to 2 degrees Celsius, which is 33.8 Fahrenheit, for everyone who still refuses to use the metric system. We're looking at you, America. So, it's a little freezing, but keep in mind that most water creatures survive at a higher temperature and do not have temperature adjustment systems built into their bodies like us, or central heating. But all of these facts don't compare to the disaster that is the Mariana Trench's pressure. It varies between 600 to 1100 atmospheres. If you didn't gasp, let us tell you this. It is the equivalent of placing 1 ton of weight on one finger. We expect your finger will explode if we put a polar bear on it. And as we mentioned, worm-like tiny creatures live down there. There are no monsters as far as we know, and we don't know much. Mostly there are super creatures that are exactly 0.6 inches in length. How do they bear this pressure? We don't particularly know, and we want to know real bad. But one more thing, there may be super giants in the Mariana Trench. Now, doesn't that sound so exciting? Actually, these creatures are one of the most exciting named creatures found in the Hydrothermal Zone. This is the one, the only, enigmatic supergiant called Elasella gigantea. Even the Latin name is exciting. But before you get way too excited, we have to inform you with the slight regret that the creature is still no megalodon, 75-pound shark of the ocean. In fact, it is very, very small, minuscule, even compared to the humble and very tiny sandhopper. The amphipod is 20 times bigger than anything we have discovered before in these depths, and this tiny beast pumps out seaweed at a blasting speed. The largest specimen of this supergiant is an impressive 13.4 inches long, a female. Don't be too depressed that it wasn't 13.4 million inches long. The fact that these creatures are so small makes them even more fascinating. They survive what comparatively huge humans cannot, what even huge fish living shallow waters cannot. Like sharks and whales. We have aliens living in our backyard. Be proud, but not too proud. Recent expeditions, such as the Hades Project, suggest that these creatures, even the supergiants, are not found below 27,000 feet. Mariana Trench is way deeper than that. Some fancy college professor and other scientists have predicted that 27,000 meters is the limit because below that, proteins cannot be formed. But to contract this, fish might make even more fancy chemicals, such as one called TMAO, and this helps proteins work better under pressure. Fish already do produce this. TMAO is what gives them that awful fishy smell. If they produce it in higher amounts, it might just be possible that they would be able to survive at the very floor of the deepest crater in the Mariana Trench. Another interesting property to add, which will make you think about these creatures being aliens, the temperature in the Mariana Trench waters is not all consistent. When you think of the bottom of the ocean, we immediately think of freezing cold, something like Canada. And we are often right, because of two facts. One, obviously, sunlight does not get to the bottom of the ocean, because we all saw Finding Nemo and the ocean was dark there. Second, water gains heat at a much slower rate as compared to land. So we expect it to be very, very cold. Yes, same goes for the Mariana Trench. We expect it to be frigid, as no sunlight reaches it, and we would be absolutely right. The temperature there battles the Canadian tundras with their below 1 Celsius temperatures. Here is the surprising part. The water can get hot. In fact, very hot. This is because the Mariana Trench is kind of lined with hydrothermal vents throughout the trench. The water that comes out of those vents would be enough to burn anyone. They are a whopping 700 degrees Fahrenheit. If you are deathly afraid of being burnt alive, don't worry. You'll be crushed by the pressure anyway before the water could reach you. Of course, this water is not useless. It releases huge amounts of minerals that sustains creatures that live down there. Yes, we mean aliens. If you are somehow disappointed that the Mariana Trench doesn't seem that dangerous, let us correct your misunderstanding. First, the name. Mariana Trench doesn't deliver that shock to the system, but these trenches on the whole are called hadopelagic zone. Does it seem familiar? It is in Greek stories, of course, and we just know Percy Jackson fans are loving this. The idea behind the name is that Hades' underworld. Entering is easy, but leaving is quite impossible. Similarly, these depths have creatures that may survive the pressures and darkness of this trench, but they will never be able to leave without dying. Even crazier, when it moves, it causes time to shift. The trench moves. It is in fact slightly disturbing how the Sumatra Andaman earthquake in 2004 released so much energy it caused the Earth's rotation to shorten by 2.68 microseconds. But as always, nature cannot compare to the real horror posed by humans. Mankind is really not happy to leave any part of the world untouched by our venomous existence. Even the Mariana Trench is used as a dumping site. In the 1970s, pharmaceutical executives thought, what haven't we rendered useless yet? And it immediately clicked. The Mariana Trench. They dumped literally 880 Boeing 747s worth of waste in the trench. Before anyone could call them inconsiderate, they stated there was no way they could clean out the bottom of the ocean, so people didn't need to worry about it. They tipped over their trucks inside and all their problems were solved. No one cared for those dead alien creatures inside anyway. Oh, and there's a box containing 3.9 kilograms of extremely radioactive material in the trench, in case you wanted to be the first to dive in there to touch the ground. What sounds scarier, the Mariana Trench or humans? Let us know in the comments below and we'll pin the best one. Make sure you like this video and share it with your friends and family so we can scare them as well. Subscribe for more videos that will explore the craziest part of the universe and give you mild dissociative attacks. We'll catch you the next time on the new wacky episode of Big Facts. Until then, have a good day. If you decide to dive in the Mariana Trench, let us tell you, rest in peace.